uncut and unscripted. After rewatching bits of the At the Screening review of Dragon Dropped, collaborated by Thespio and Voice of Reason, I wanted to talk about something that rarely gets done for episodes at all. And that is comic book adaptations. Now, we know movies get comic book adaptations, there's no doubt. And sometimes the comic book adaptations are straightforward, just like the movie. Only difference is you're reading every scene from the movie in comic book form, panel for panel, word for word. But other times, the comic book adaptation will be kind of true, if not somewhat identical to the movie. The only difference is you might get a few additional scenes in the panel that were either cut from the movie or added in as original parts of the comic book adaptation, as well as you'll have the additions of a few lines that you don't see in the movie that were either cut from the movie or added in as an original part of the comic book adaptation. Now, the reason I bring this up as far as Dragon Dropped is concerned is because I remember a time when Archie Comics actually, for an issue of the Sonic the Hedgehog comic they once had under their licensing, or license, if you will, they actually adapted an episode from Season 2 of the Sonic the Hedgehog Saturday morning cartoon called Cry of the Wolf. As well as they also adapted another one called Ghostbusted. And even though they were identical scene for scene, panel for panel, you could definitely tell that there were a few differences and a few added lines and a few added scenes. The reason I bring that up is one has to wonder if down the line, the people behind the IDW comic decides, hey, let's take this episode, Dragon Dropped, and let's adapt it into comic book form. One has to wonder if that happens, is if they would stay true to the episode and leave it as is, but put it into comic book form, or would they leave it as is, but add in a few more details? Because the one thing about comic books, especially the writers behind the stories, is they have a little bit more freedom. They're a little bit more freelance. They can do a bit more within the confines of a 28-page comic than the writers could do in the confines of a 28 to 30-page script meant for television. Now, as far as a possible adaptation in the future goes, one has to think, whoever decides to do that on IDW's behalf, you have to think maybe, or have to wonder if maybe they'll look at the episode and be like, yeah, I see what's going on here. I can see the metaphor. I can see the underlining message underneath the friendship moral and sharing friends moral, and friends will never stop being friends because they make new friends moral and lesson and all that, You know, you have to wonder if that writer, he or she, will look at the real undertones and be like, yeah, I know what this is about, and I'm going to do what Josh Haber never did. And what did Josh Haber not do? Even though he put the undertones for it, he put the metaphor into it. I mean, everyone from, like Thespio and Dr. Wolf and several others have pointed this out themselves. Basically, this is more of a Sparity episode that's finally trying to answer that question, bring that resolution, to a conclusion. And you would have to think that the writer, if they ever did an adaptation of this episode, because that's probably going to happen with some of the episodes down the line, if they will basically be like, Josh, we know what you were trying to do, so we're going to take it a step further, and we might add in a few scenes, original scenes by panels and by script to kind of basically, get the message across and not try to hide it, if you will. In other words, you have to think maybe they might, let's say, go the Sparity route, or maybe they'll come up with a situation to where the door is left open, and maybe they decide, hey, let's just have Rarity come out and flat out say it. That she hasn't realized how much she loves Spike until he started spending time with Gabby. And only now does she realize it's not his friendship or his insistence she misses the most, it's his love. His genuine, heartfelt love that he has for her. You have to wonder if they would add in scenes that would basically finally have her admit that to Spike and maybe, like I said, open the door or leave the door open for Sparity to happen, or even Sparity to happen. Like maybe they, end the issue with both of them kind of flying off, or walking off or whatever, hand and hoof, and Gabby being the one that kind of understands what's going on and sees it. And it's like, Rarity, what it sounds like to me is you're not jealous of him spending time with me. You're jealous of the fact that you think he's fallen in love with me and he's fallen out of love with you, when that could probably be further from the truth. Because you got to imagine that there were probably some scenes they cut out or felt were unnecessary for the episode. And a lot of episodes in the series have probably had that happen. But one has to wonder if maybe that's what occurred here. And that perhaps some of those cut scenes would be added into an adaptation. And I think they would be. I mean, because, obviously, I think Gabby, the way she was portrayed, she wasn't portrayed in the best light, because she did show a bit of a Griffin-ness, if you will. But she is understanding and accepting of, okay, look, I know you made a mistake. You didn't mean this because I know how you feel. But I think she could have also been the kind that sees through the fact that, you know what? I understand where you're coming from, Rarity, because I feel the same way, but you seem to feel it more than I do. Like it's something more than just friendship with you and Spike. And just go with that. And just go with there. And then maybe, like I said, you end the episode, not with them just in the gem cave, but maybe you have an additional scene where basically they're walking into Twilight's castle together for a meeting, and they're walking in hand and hoof. Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of different ways an adaptation of the episode Dragon Drop could be done if down the line, and like I said, eventually this probably will happen, the IDW Comics version of Friendship is Magic goes that route. Because like I said, even though, just like the IDW Comics Friendship is Magic series, Archie Comics Sonic series was its own continuity. The only reason it threw in a Cry of the Wolf adaptation and a Ghostbusted adaptation was because basically they did kind of fall in to the continuity of how the characters met each other, so it would make sense. Overall, though, could the same be said for Dragon Dropped and episodes like it? Yeah, I think it could be. I think the same could be said. And just like with Cry of the Wolf and even Ghostbusted, you could have some scenes added in to make the story feel a little bit more filled out and maybe finally bring that resolution to a close. But despite that, in the end, I think no matter how you look at it, that being the episode Dragon Dropped, that pretty much fans have agreed, even Jim Miller agreed with it, that the ending of Dragon Dropped is open to interpretation. Like I've said before, they could have ended it with both Gabby and Spike flying off, and Rarity being happy she mended her friendship or reconciled with Spike and created a new friendship with Gabby, and as she's walking off you see this big iris close out the show and that's it or whatever. They could have ended it like that, but they didn't. Instead, they ended it with Spike and Rarity. Spike saying he and Gabby had a good time, but he always wanted his Rarity time, while holding her hoof in his hand. And then Pinky's little line at the end, kind of throw it in there, if you will. No matter how you look at it. I mean, Thespio did, if you want to look at it that way. No matter how you look at Dragon Dropped, it's always going to be open to interpretation. And there's a lot of fans that feel it didn't sink the Sparity ship. It didn't, just bring a conclusion to it to where it's a resolution that's kind of like, okay, he still has a bit of a crush, still has feelings for her, but it's not as prominent anymore. Well, others believe, hey, it strengthened the damn thing. It strengthened the damn relationship. It reinforced it. It made it stronger. That's how people look and view a drag and drop being. And like I said, if a comic book adaptation was ever done to the episode, you have to wonder if there's any scenes that will probably cut that they would probably add in to make it a more filled out story, or if they would add in a few other things to kind of really answer that question. Because to me, it looks like the comic book, in my opinion, is more willing to probably do Sparity than they are maybe the show, and flat out make it happen. But what do you guys think? I know it sounded like I rambled here, but I thought I'd just get this off my chest, kind of give you guys my thoughts on what I see here. So what are your thoughts, though? Comment down below. Let me know what you all think about it. Comment down below, and I will talk to you all later.